Hey, what is going on, everybody? Welcome into the latest video. Today's topic is going to be on 5 tight ends that are on my radar late in my fantasy football drafts that I'll be doing in the coming weeks. And then before I dive into the video, the tight ends I am talking about, as of today, they are currently outside the top 10 according to Fantasy Pros half-point PPR ADP. So these are guys you're getting outside the top 10. I know I made the restrictions a lot harder for like quarterbacks, running backs, and wide receivers in my previous videos. But I just did top 10 because in my personal opinion, I don't think it's a smart strategy to have more than 2 tight ends on your roster. So if you're not going to get one of the elite tight ends like a Travis Kelce, Mark Andrews, George Kittle, maybe Darren Waller with a bounce back season. I'm kind of at this point where if I don't get one of the elite tight ends, you can get kind of one of those mid-round tight ends, but I'd rather get like a running back and wide receiver in the mid-rounds, and then just take a chance on a tight end later in my drafts that offers me a high ceiling. And then if it doesn't work out, I got that tight end later in the draft, and then I can stream tight ends throughout the season. But yeah, let me go ahead and dive into the video. Now, this guy maybe doesn't offer the highest ceiling, but I do think he has a high floor for being outside of a top 10 ADP right now. It's Dalton Schultz. I mean, he was fantasy relevant. Not last year. Obviously, he had a down year in his final season with the Dallas Cowboys, but 2 previous seasons, he was a fantasy relevant tight end and a safe option for you to have inside your lineups. Now, since 2020, among all tight ends in the NFL, he has the 4th most receptions, the 5th most receiving touchdowns, the 7th most receiving yards, and he has the 9th most receiving yards per game. And the reason why I like him this year is because he signed with the Houston Texans. Now, Houston's more than likely, they're technically in a quarterback battle, but I have a 99% belief that CJ Stroud is going to be the opening day starting quarterback for Houston. And as we all know, young quarterbacks can tend to lean on their tight end because it's just a big body presence in the middle of the field if it comes down to when they're getting pressured, that's probably who's going to be in their sight line when they're looking who they can possibly get the ball to. And then when you look at the Houston Texans passing attack, he could end up being the number 1 target for CJ Stroud because the wide receivers right now, it's Robert Woods. Obviously, I'm a fan of Nico Collins entering year 3. If you haven't watched that video, go back and watch my year 3 wide receivers. John Mechie, who I think could have a good year after missing his rookie year. And then they got their rookie wide receiver, Tank Dell. So it's a lot of inexperience in that wide receiver room outside of Woods, and you combine with that with the rookie quarterbacks, those young quarterbacks that love their tight ends. I can see Dalton Schultz having a bounce back fantasy season and being a safe option that at least gives you a high floor, and then I think he can have a lot of ceiling performances throughout the year. Moving into the rest of the list is going to be either it's going to be rookie guys or a couple tight ends that are entering their year 2. I'm going to start with a rookie tight end though. I'm going with Dalton Kincaid, the Bills' first round pick from this past draft. Now, his last season at Utah, he had 70 receptions for 890 yards and 8 touchdowns. Now, he actually had 8 touchdowns in this past season and in the previous season. He has 2 years of starting experience in college. And then I know it's just the first week of training camp. You never want to look into these reports, these videos, and just completely, hype somebody up, but it's all positive reports for Dalton Kincaid. They're going to line him up all over the offense as a wide receiver, and some projections from the beat writers in Buffalo is that he's going to see a lot of high volume early in the season. Now, he's going to be, as far as target-wise, it's going to be Stephon Diggs, but really, honestly, I only see the competition for targets for him with Gabe Davis and Dawson Knox. Now, they have Khalil Shakir and some other guys that might be peppered some targets throughout the season, but I can see Dalton Kincaid pushing for 2nd and 3rd in targets by the end of the season. Now, prior to the draft, the Bills were in talks with the DeAndre Hopkins and getting him. But after they drafted Kincaid, that faded away because basically what they wanted is they wanted to get another big body presence in their passing attack for Josh Allen. And that's the other factor. You're getting a tight end that's tied to Josh Allen. So whenever there's a situation like that where you get a great quarterback that's tied to the tight end, and then that tight end kind of has a path to be second and third in targets, I'm willing to take a chance on because he has such a high ceiling for you in his rookie year. Moving into the next guy I'm going to speak about, it's going to be Greg Dolce, the Broncos tight end. Now, last year, he only played in 10 games. He started in 6 of those games. And in 10 games, he still was able to manage 33 receptions for 411 yards and 2 touchdowns. Now, he missed the final 2 games last year because of injury, but in the last 4 games that he appeared in, he had 8 targets in 3 of the last 4 games. Now, for those that have been following my fantasy videos over the last few years, when I see tight ends that get at least 6+ targets a game, that's who I'm trying to get on my rosters, especially when I'm like streaming tight ends throughout the season. So that's why I like that. And he also established a rapport with Russell Wilson. And then we got Sean Payton coming in that will fix this offense. And I think that's going to be a huge benefit for Greg Dulcich. Now, I do have to be honest, my biggest concern with him is that the Broncos do have a lot of mouths to feed in this passing attack with Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, Tim Patrick, Marvin Mims Jr., Marquez Callaway, and KJ Hamler in the receiving room. But I still think that he could still be like second to third in targets if this offense is formed around how I think Sean Payton's going to lean into the running game. And when you lean into the running game, that helps the tight end benefit in the play action game. Now, we will have to see how his role evolves over this coming month, seeing like the preseason games, more of the practice reports. But when you're getting him outside, the top 10 ADP, it's worth a risk to try to see if he's going to hit his ceiling in year 2. Now, the next guy is another year 2 tight end that's on my radar, and I do apologize to him if I mispronounce his first name. Chigo Ziem. Chigo is easier to say. Okonkwo, the tight end for the Tennessee Titans. In the year 1, he started in 8 of the 17 games. He had 32 receptions for 450 yards and 3 touchdowns on 46 targets. Now, when you looked at the last 7 games of the year for him, when he started getting those starts, he got at least 4+ targets in 6 of the last 7 games. And then 4 of those 6 games, he had 5+ target games. Now, I think with him being more experienced there in Tennessee, and then with him taking over the starting role full time, he should start seeing more targets. Now, he's going to be at maximum third in targets. More likely, it's going to be DeAndre Hopkins and Treylon Burks that are going to lead the team in targets in that passing attack. But I think those two being on the field is going to be a great benefit for Chigo, because those two lining up on the outside, they're going to demand attention from the secondaries they face. So he's going to be able to work the middle of the field and be that seam option for Ryan Tannehill. So that's why I think he's going to end up seeing third in targets. He should be able to double his production this year. Now, this is another team I'm kind of concerned about. My biggest concern is their offensive line, and then obviously Ryan Tannehill getting up there in age and with his recent injury history. But the benefit is, if something were to happen to Ryan Tannehill, it would either be Will Levis or Malik Willis that would come into the lineup. And like I mentioned about CJ Stroud and Dalton Schultz, those young quarterbacks like to lean into their tight ends. So if that situation pops up in the season, I still think he will be able to produce for you if they have to go to their rookie quarterbacks because something happens with Ryan Tannehill. Moving into the last tight end that is on my radar, I'm going with that rookie tight end for Detroit, Sam LaPorta. In his final season at Iowa, he had 58 receptions for 657 yards and just the 1 touchdown. And now that was in one of the absolutely worst offenses in college football last year. But the really great positive thing too is he comes from a tight end factory there in Iowa. Just in recent history, they have produced George Kittle, TJ Hawkinson, and Noah Fant. And then there's been reports that he's been looking good in camp. And then just from his performance earlier this spring in OTAs, he's already earned the #1 tight end role in their offense. And then I could see I could see games throughout the season for LaPorta where he could lead the team in targets in certain games and certain matchups for Detroit, because there's not a lot of like size in the wide receiver room. Now they got Marvin Jones Jr. He's like 6'2", but then it's like Amon-Ra St. Brown. Jameson Williams is missing the first 6 games, but he's kind of like a skinnier type of wide receiver, not necessarily like a red zone threat type of guy. Denzel Mims maybe could be that guy, the Jets wide receiver they just traded for. But that's what I'm getting at, is when that Detroit Lions offense gets into the red zone, I think Sam LaPorta is going to see a lot of opportunity. And you know how sometimes when you get so frustrated with the tight end position in fantasy football, sometimes all you want to do is just give me a touchdown, right? I think Sam LaPorta is going to, in my early projection right now, I think he's going to get 5+ touchdowns this year, just because I think he's going to be the #1 option when they get into that, like the inside the 10-yard line and they want to go to the pass game. And I think he's going to be that option for Jared Goff and that Lions passing attack as they get closer to the end zone. So yeah, that is my video today, guys. As always, if you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, share the video, make sure you either subscribe or follow me depending on which platform you are watching this on. As always, I appreciate anybody that takes their time out for doing that. So yeah, that wraps up some players that I am targeting late. I actually was trying to figure out what video I should do next, and I forgot last year I did a kicker video, and I know a lot of people don't love kickers in fantasy, but at the end of the day, we got to deal with them. So I think my next video, I'm actually going to give you guys some kickers I got some of my eyes on that I'm going to draft with my last pick in my fantasy football drafts. Other than that, I hope you guys enjoy your weekend if you're watching it on the weekend when this comes out. If not, enjoy your night, your day, your week. I'll check you guys later. Peace out.